Okay, we're live.
Okay. I don't know where the video failed, but I'll start with this. Having heard the recommendation of the executive director, my suggestion is that we bifurcate first to deal with the appeal, status of the appeal. Is there a motion to adopt the executive director's recommendation that we deny the appeal? Is there anyone who would like to make that motion?
I make the motion.
All right. It's been
I'll-
moved.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. We need to read the names of the persons who made the motions. James True made the motion, and Ms. Benito seconded the motion. All right. Are any questions, any further discussion on that, on the only issue of the denial of appeal? All right. Having heard no questions being asked, or anyone indicating they had a question, are you prepared to move the previous question? If so, Ms. Benito?
Aye.
Mr. Chura?
Aye.
Chief?
Aye.
And I also vote aye. So the motion is denied. On the second issue, the executive director has indicated that we should remand on the issue of a possible administrative instruction on Miranda, on Miranda, regarding Miranda rights. Having heard the recommendation from the executive director, is there a motion that we remand to whom? CPRB?
Yes, it would be. I will, as a point of clarification, I think there's a question as to the authority of the committee outside of the full commission. It's not clear under the rules in this scenario whether the accountability committee can.
Yeah. I need to restate that. The motion is actually to recommend to the full committee that we deny the appeal. All right. Does anyone have any objection to that motion? Or do we need to restate the motion?
I'd restate the motion for clarity.
Let's restate it. We're going to restate the motion, and that is, the motion is to recommend to the full commission that the appeal be denied. Is there a second? Is someone who should move that?
I move that we recommend, that the accountability committee recommend to the full commission that this, that we do not advance this complaint to an evidentiary hearing and therefore deny the petition.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Thank you, Tessa Chura. Having moved and seconded, are there any questions? Seeing that no one has any questions, we will now call the question on the motion. Indicate by saying aye. Detective Chura.
Aye.
Ms. Benito.
Aye.
Chief.
Aye.
And I, Michael Nelson, also vote aye. On the second item, which is the remand regarding the Miranda issue, is there a motion that we advance the remand to the full commission on the Miranda issue? Ms. Benito.
I guess one question that I have is, so our policy specifically require that the full commission vote to deny a petition and to stop it from going to deny the request for an evidentiary hearing. Now, I'm not sure that it is necessary under our rules to put the request in front of the full commission to make a request to OPS to investigate this issue. I did just kind of briefly look through the charter language, and I didn't see anything about like a formal process that we need to do to make a complaint to OPS. So I think that my understanding is that we are we are acting as any other citizen who can make a complaint to OPS. So based on what we saw, and we found this, we witnessed this in the course of reviewing an investigation, I'm not opposed to, sending that to the full commission. It could have more weight if it's coming from the full commission as a body. However, I guess I am not sure that every single time we find something in the course of reviewing a case that we want to submit that to the full commission, because any of us could realistically, having seen this, submit our own complaints. And so I worry that we're kind of creating a new procedure that's not necessary. But to be clear, I do fully support us requesting that OPS investigate this matter.
I'm so confused. Are you speaking to that we voted to advance the recommendation to the full commission that the appeal be denied? Okay. Are you speaking now to the issue of the Fifth Amendment matter?
Yes.
Okay.
Through the chair, if I may.
To the director.
The way that I formulated the recommendation is based upon the draft evidentiary manual that was provided to the DOJ and monitoring team. That draft evidentiary manual provided this accountability committee with the authority to decide in the first instance whether to hear an appeal or to deny an appeal. Okay. In the event that the accountability committee denied the appeal, that appeal would then not move forward to the full commission. Since it's unclear, and the rules don't sort of provide for this sort of scenario, I believe it's more akin to permitting in a portion of an appeal or an aspect of an appeal, given that it came to us by virtue of this written petition for this committee to advance the full commission for full commission approval, then to remand. In addition, your point is well taken that any individual can submit to OPS a civilian complaint form. However, I think that because this matter was previously determined by CPRB and OPS, that it might be better received through a remand of the entire body and potentially be reopened rather than started anew, if that makes sense.
One other administrative clarification: you're going to get a roll call vote motion sheet, I believe, and this motion is to deny the appeal in 2025-CPC-001. If you would just record your the votes that you made audibly on this sheet, we'll turn them into the executive director.
Because we have these sheets filled out before we sign stuff.
We'll do that next time.
We don't have to go through that.
Okay.
It's on the video. It's
Okay.
memorialized it that way. So
You may want it, so if you print it, I'll get mine too. So we're looking for it. Since you took that to print them. Okay, and it's to deny appeal in the 2025-CPC-001. Okay? All right. And then you'll give us some further instruction on this next time, whether it's just how you wish to do this. Okay, that's all right. Okay. I'll give this to Alex. Do we have to sign them out?
no.
Okay, all right. Alex, which one is this?
Forwarding.
Okay, and the next item, are you ready? You want me to restate that? Restate the motion? The motion on the second item was to advance to the full commission our recommendation that we remand on regarding Miranda issues. Okay, I hope I stated that correctly. Okay, all right, thanks. Okay. If you write on here when you get it, just write the word remand down. They'll know what we're talking about. This is on the issue of remand. This person will get one. We have one for you, one for Mr. Benito, one for Mr. Chua, one for myself. Okay, yeah, I can get it. Go ahead, Ashton. This is our attendance sheet for you, sir. Okay, all right. So we're gonna call the previous question. Is Ms. Benito, did she leave? She just stepped out. Okay, we'll take a recess and she has a
So
chance
you
to come back.
saying this one here,
It's for the issue of the remand.
so why we have so many?
But it's one for each person, one for you. And this is strictly on the remand. The first one was on the denial of the appeal. This one is on that we want to, Alex is suggesting we remand this issue back to OPS.
Move to the full commission for a vote to remand.
Right, okay. He's actually gonna be remanded to our full commission. We'll recommend to our full commission remand. Well, you can, let me figure it out.
If it's easier, we could just have, I can take the votes, or, one person can, rather than we have, 5 different voting sheets.
Well, you'll amend the process, make it smooth. But she took time, so she also took time to print all this nice stuff. To the audience, we're gonna take a 5-minute recess, and then we will reconvene at, 7:52.
Just so you're aware, it's still live. So if you want to have, I can't end it unless you make a new stream, but we can't do that. You know what, I can mute. There you go.
All right, we're back in session. To the listening audience and to those in attendance, we're back in session. To clarify the motion on the remand regarding the Miranda rights, the motion reads thusly. Nevertheless, this committee, we move to advance to the full commission a remand of the petition to CPRB with request for CPRB to direct the OPS administrator to conduct an investigation of the alleged misconduct as relates to Miranda. This is not a disciplinary recommendation. This is an instructive recommendation. This is not a recommendation for discipline. This is a recommendation for an instruction on Miranda. Okay? We need a motion.
I move that the Accountability Committee recommend to the full commission that, that the full commission send a letter requesting a remand of an investigation into the Miranda, potential violations of Miranda rights that occurred during this execution of a search warrant.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Are you ready for the vote? Any questions? Discussion on the matter? Yeah.
I plan to support this. I would like for us to recommend to the Rules Committee that they create a procedure for us to and discuss different potential procedures for this. I worry a little bit that as we have higher volumes of cases, that as we find more things, that it could kind of bog some things down in the full commission, and so that's a recommendation that I would make.
I would forward that to the director who will pass it on to that committee. Okay? Any other questions? Any other discussion?
At this point, I don't believe it should be sent back to OPS. I think this is more a training issue at this time. There's no bright line rule or time frame. It mentions a passage of a significant period of time. However, if someone's holding your head underwater, 2 minutes could be a significant period of time. I think for this reason, we should have this issue given to our training committee and to the division, notify them that this should be mentioned, because I've never really heard of anybody not questioning someone once they went to Miranda. That was usually it. But I think this is an issue that needs to be in their training. I don't think it's fair to go back on one detective from 6 years ago. That's my feeling on this issue.
So let's make sure we're clear. So make sure we're not changing our motion. So you're suggesting that it become a training issue for the district-wide, division-wide?
For the whole division, correct.
Okay. All right. So, obviously, we don't violate our own mission, our motion. The motion is being, you're offering an amendment then.
I think he's just stating his opinion.
That's mine.
Sounds pretty good, though.
So at this point, you just vote it up or down and then change the action.
Make an amendment.
Can I?
He would need to say, I amend the motion. I didn't hear that. You amended the motion?
I'll amend it. That was my discussion period of that, of
Right,
what we
yeah,
were doing.
that's
Right.
right,
If it needs to be, I would amend the motion,
Okay.
what I previously stated.
Instead of it going back to CPRB regarding this particular detective, you're suggesting that it go to the training, be included in the training for all officers.
Yes, sir, that's what I
All right.
would suggest.
Would you accept that amendment?
Yes, I would.
So I think that my concern was, so if, when OPS investigates cases, they will determine whether, and make recommendations about officer training. And so I guess what I'm reading from the case review from our interim executive director is that we're not saying that Miranda was violated or not. We're saying this could use some further review. So my concern with just us skipping the step of OPS is because we are not an investigatory body, and also because our executive director is not acting in a position of determining what occurred, more in general procedures, and are there any special issues that came up that might need further consideration? I mean, there's nothing stopping us from saying to the training committee at any time, hey, we would love for the division to do more training on Miranda. But I think to say because of this, I think that kind of lies under the authority of OPS and CPRB, because CPRB does make recommendations of training, and also can recommend non-disciplinary action as well, depending on what is found in the circumstances. And so I think that for me, while I absolutely respect the perspective of Commissioner Chura, and he is very knowledgeable about this issue as a former detective and IA, commander of, captain, of internal affairs. I'm not really qualified to speak to whether or not I think that the Miranda was violated, but I do feel like that is what OPS would determine, not us. And so that's a little bit my concern with saying let's do this instead, is because right now we aren't even making any allegations that Miranda was violated, just that this should be looked into further.
Can I add something, Chair?
Dr.
So, to the Chair, so I agree with Commissioner Benito. I think that what's happened here is that the issues that were reviewed by OPS and CPRB, have been determined, and our executive director agrees with their conclusions on those. So he's found something that was not investigated, and the process that it has to go through is that, as Commissioner Benito said, we are not an investigatory body. So I think what we're asking is for OPS to actually do the investigation so that CPRB can determine if there was a violation of Miranda or not. So I think there could be a discussion had about sort of if we want to do some stuff with the training committee. But what typically happens a lot when CPRB reviews things, they often will recommend that this officer be retrained on something. And so I think we are not in a position to do what's proposed without the actual investigation done.
So I get the sense that, by the way, on that issue.
The way I see it, just send it to OPS is like redundant. The investigation seems to be in that first paragraph on page 6 by the executive director. And we're not doing a technical investigation, but he's done some research, and that's what was brought up. OPS, I think if it was significant at that time, they would have addressed the issue then. But that's why I feel it should be a training issue rather than going back to OPS.
So we have a motion, but the person who seconded, the seconder is not. So you're not seconding the motion. You withdraw the second.
Yes.
Okay. So the motion dies for lack of a second. Okay. So that takes care of that. All right. And what we'll ask is our director will send a memo to the department regarding this being a training matter. Okay. So that motion died. Now, is there another motion? If someone else makes another motion, we can make a different motion altogether. That motion died for lack of a second.
I'd like to make a motion that our director send a memo to the training division about this issue.
The issue of Miranda.
For the whole division, correct.
Okay.
So they could be instructed.
Second.
Okay. So let's restate the motion. That motion, the new motion that's under consideration is that our executive director send a memo, a letter of recommendation to
the entire body,
send it to who? To
the chief,
okay.
the training committee. The training committee.
Okay, I want to make sure we get it written
We
down.
could go right to the division, I think, with it if we had to. I know, we already know what it is. The division could be notified of this issue.
The before we entertain any further questions, make sure we have we're succinct in what the motion is so that the questions can be pertinent to that motion. So the motion, you want to repeat the motion, Mr. Director?
Sorry?
You want to repeat it? You have it written down?
I'm not sure I understand,
James, you
what's
want
on
to
the
repeat
table.
it one more time?
I'll do my best.
Okay.
I would like to make a motion that the executive director, notify the Cleveland Division of Police, the chief, deputy chief, et cetera, command officers that, his findings in this first paragraph on page 6 of his, brief on this issue, that all officers, the training section being re-instructed on this issue, of the time frame of questioning when they could do this and when they can't.
Of Miranda.
Of the Miranda rights, correct.
All right. Okay, now, and that's the second, got question.
So, my concern with the motion is that we have a training committee whose responsibility it is to work with the training division and to make recommendations to the full commission about trainings and specific trainings, to approve trainings, and also to determine if additional training needs to be provided to the division. And my concern is that we are jumping over the training committee, whose responsibility that is to do that, and giving a directive to the Division of Police without it going for the full commission. So I feel like we're skipping 2 steps here. One is that the training committee is the committee that has that responsibility. When we have talked about the accountability committee and the way that the accountability committee works with other committees in the past, we have discussed that we would potentially flag issues that we found in cases to the respective committees so that they can take action. Luckily for us, Commissioner Chura is on the training committee, and so I think that this would be a great motion to make within the training committee. I just don't want to, I think it could create a bit of a confusing process if the training committee who works with the training division has that relationship, is kind of has been deputized by our rules to do that work on our behalf, that if we are jumping over them. So I think that's concerning.
To the committee, so this is only our recommendation to the full body, and the full body at that meeting.
Okay, to the chair. So I'm going to say Commissioner Benito sort of made my point. I think if this is what the committee wants, I would say just contact Commissioner Miller, who is taking the lead on the training committee, and that training committee is going to meet on Tuesday. So we're now on Thursday. If this is a conversation had with Commissioner Miller, she can bring that to the training committee on Tuesday, and we can still move the process along. But what should happen is exactly what Commissioner Benito is saying, which is that this should, at this point, should just be recommended to the training committee. But I don't think it's going to delay anything because they're meeting, 4 or 5 days.
They're meeting up to the commission, to the members of the committee.
I would be fine with that going to the training committee. I just like to get things done quickly and expeditiously.
Yeah.
However, the training committee could review it. I would like to withdraw that amendment and have this paragraph on page 6 of the executive director's brief that the training committee examines it and makes their own recommendation as to forwarding it for additional training to the division.
I would agree with the Chura, as we don't want to stop our work as we try to pursue the perfect and place the good. But you made the motion, Chief, if you want to.
Second it.
Okay, we're going to second that. So let's vote on the amendment. All those in favor of referring it, this recommendation of regarding training to the training committee indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All right. I'll also say aye. Okay. All right. And on the initial motion then dies. Okay. All right. So that takes care of that part of our meeting. And congratulations, folks, on getting to this. So that goes to the respective committees. Now, Item 2 under a new business is a plan for the Brady Giglio list. And I think that, Mr. Executive Director, is it your item? Number 2.
Is your mic on, by the way? I think there's.
Yes, plan for the Brady Giglio list.
That is my agenda item that I requested be added to the agenda.
Okay, all right, then we will defer to, Ms. Benito.
So this is just, we need to make a plan for how we are going to handle the charter responsibility of maintaining a Brady Giglio list.
The floor is open for discussion.
I was gonna say, through the chair, just for the public, do you wanna kind of just quickly, like, review or explain what the Brady Giglio list is and why it's important that we continue the work that was started on it?
Sure. So, under Brady Giglio, there is a right that defendants have in criminal proceedings that they be notified if an officer that is involved in the prosecution of their case has reasons to believe that they would be untrustworthy. And so that is something that must be disclosed to defense attorneys and to defendants. And right now, different prosecutors' offices maintain their own Brady Giglio list. They each have a different process for how they maintain it. There's not a lot of transparency, and sometimes not even a lot of clarity of how they maintain those lists. And I think that it was the intention of the framers of 115.5 to add more transparency to a Brady Giglio process and to make that information easier to access. So I think, for example, with not having a public list, it is harder for defendants to find out if maybe their rights have been violated by it not being disclosed, because you can't know what you don't know. So the charter gives us the responsibility to create and make available to the public a Brady Giglio list. There are a number of different ways that we could do that. There has been some work that was done on the previous commission in a work group, and it is now our responsibility as the accountability committee to make a plan for how we will move that work forward. And there are two police officers who have decades of experience and a former judge who would all probably do a much better job eloquently explaining what Brady Giglio is. And so I will apologize for any butchering, and I am more than happy to receive correction on the best way to explain that.
Director, you have it up. Why don't you go ahead and talk about Brady Giglio, how it's applied, how it protects officers when they're being investigated or when they're being questioned.
Certainly. So the general legal principle that stems from Brady is a prosecutor's ethical mandate to provide all impeachment material to the defense in its prosecution of the case. Probably broader than that, and I'm missing some nuances, I'm sure. But Brady and Giglio stand for the proposition that any disciplinary background that might discredit an officer's ability to testify truthfully shall be disclosed from the prosecution to the defense so that the defense can have a fair trial under the Constitution. This body is tasked with, under 115.5H9, soliciting, gathering, compiling, organizing, maintaining, and generally updating information on individual police officers whose career records or personal history merit designation or disclosure, even reasonably arguably advisable under Brady or Giglio, and those cases progeny. Ensuring that CDP and prosecutors disclose such information at the beginning of the discovery process in all criminal and civil cases in which such officers could be witnesses or are parties, and making such information readily, publicly accessible on the city's website, in addition to some other duties. So I think what this committee needs to determine is how it will move forward in gathering, compiling, and organizing a list, or creating criteria for such a list in order to hold those prosecutors to their ethical obligation to disclose such information or list or officer information if they meet those criteria to the defense counsel.
Is there, Mr. Chairman, talking to Dr. Allen and to our executive director, would it be appropriate for us to table this matter for tonight? It's really a discussion matter for a meeting that is specifically dedicated to discussing this issue.
Okay, so do you want to?
Simply put, I think that, you know, some discussion should be had tonight about how to move forward, even if it's just, you know, I'm thinking the first step would just be deciding to form a work group of people who would discuss this, and then that work group can have that discussion on how to move forward. So you guys can have, you know, whoever's in that work group can have that discussion on,
Right.
you know, but I think something needs to be set in place tonight to move this work forward.
Right.
So I agree with you. Why don't we then set a specific date? The recommendation would be that we set a specific date to talk in the very, very near future to address this issue, including the establishment of a working group. And you have some, I'm asking this question, you guys. This has been discussed before,
Right.
By previous. And so you have some notes and some updates, some memos on where you are. No, not where you are. Where we are.
There was already a work group established for
So-
previously.
Also, to the chair, that was already sent to the accountability committee over 6 weeks ago. And my concern with putting off this work anymore is I think that it has been made clear to this committee that this work, that we needed to discuss this. And it was part of the presentation and the materials that I sent out during the May meeting.
All right, so I'm sorry, go ahead.
Previous work group, we had things broken down by different offenses that the officer might have committed. For always, they were going to be on the list sometimes, and then there was little things like where they would never be on the list, on our Brady Giglio list. The former chair of the committee wanted like the whole investigative package, which to me is just, it's almost like too much. I think if we provide the pre-disciplinary hearing, the charges, but then we would go with the final, what the disposition was for you could look that up yourself, but it would be under officer's name and badge number. We would provide that, and then if you wanted anything further, video, copies of invest, if you were an attorney, you know, we don't do their job, they get billable hours and they could dig all this stuff up. But we would provide them with the bare bones. This is what the officer was accused of. This is what he was found guilty or not guilty of, and you go from there. It's my opinion of it, but we could have that discussion at the next meeting also.
To Chief. You're saying that you hadn't seen the document.
Yeah, I'm looking, I'm sorry, I do not have that. I just went back through just my stuff and I don't have that part. I usually read everything that you all send out and I may have missed that one.
I mean, I'm not trying to rush things, but are there any members of the committee here right now that are interested in working on that work group?
Well, I think all of us probably would probably want to work on it, but we have unreadiness for tonight. So we probably need to have another meeting to discuss this. I hate this, I know.
Well, I think only 2 committee
Only
members
2
can be
committee
a part of that, of a work group.
But what I'm saying is that we have unreadiness here
Okay.
in terms of trying to address this evening. So we probably need to reschedule this for a specific meeting to talk about this. And if, Ms. Benil, you've indicated it's been sent out, you would resend it, or not you, but if you would direct whatever appropriate staff person is to the director to resend it, and then let's set a meeting for the earliest available date so we can deal with that issue. I didn't see it. And, Chief Mason said she didn't see it, and Jim has a certain opinion about it.
I can confirm that it was sent on Thursday, May 29th, and I have the email here that I'd be happy to share with you. My concern is that this is something that and it's not to, I'm not trying to be rude, it's just that the more we put work off, when we are hearing from community members that they're frustrated that we're not getting this stuff done, and we're now almost 3 years into the commission being formed, and we have not yet addressed this. This has been a pattern from before you guys were here, and so it's not on y'all. You have only been here for a few months, that I do think we need to treat this work with some urgency, because we are not meeting our charter mandates. And I think one thing I'll just add to the conversation about what some considerations of what to do is that there have been some questions raised that so the general approach of the previous work group was to basically look at, and as Commissioner Chura had said, to look at cases and review evidence in order to determine whether someone should be put on a Brady Giglio list. I don't think that would be our only option, that we would be the one to determine that. I think that one potential way that we could approach this would be that we make a list of disciplinary actions that then members of defense and other members of that need that information could then use to determine. Because I think that one thing that I have heard some concerns raised is could we be opening ourselves up to liability of officers saying you're defaming me by placing me on this list and determining me to be untruthful, versus could we provide the general information about discipline that then the respective parties could determine whether they think that should put somebody on a bridge.
Just give us that date, and we can convene it there, okay?
Okay.
Yes, sir.
We're good, we're back on.
Any objection? Is there any objection to doing that? That gives us all a chance to look at the document.
What was the date that you selected?
The director says he's going to direct either the director or he'll have one of the staff identify the next available date, open date. Okay? As long as it's not this week, this weekend. Okay? All right. And of course, you guys will be traveling. When you be traveling,
The 18th.
oh, okay. We can get it done before the 18th, right? Oh, you said the 18th. Oh, 18th.
12.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay.
So at the earliest opportunity, with the exception of those 5 days, okay? That will allow us to do what we have to do and review whatever it is you have to review, okay? And look at this read this document. I think it'll be a substantive meeting, so we actually get something done.
Which date did you say?
Well, yeah, I think that's the time.
Yeah, the director and or the staff that he designates is going to identify a date for us with the excluding the 8th through the 13th, because we have people traveling.
I would like, if possible, I have I would like for, when we schedule meetings, for there to be options given so that then I have other obligations, and so, if we could try to give options so that we can determine when we are available instead of just picking a date and sending it to the committee.
Director, would you talk to, share with, just converse with Ms. Benito so this date doesn't conflict with anything she has, okay? All right. Good. Okay, we got it? Got it? All right. Thank you. Glad you raised that issue. Departure letters. I have no idea what we're talking about. Departure letters. I have no idea. Departure letters?
Certainly. So, you know, I think this might go back to, essentially this committee needed to receive a little bit of training on the oversight structure within the city of Cleveland. So I'm going to speak in very general terms here. The City of Cleveland Charter provides that a citizen may submit a complaint to OPS and CPRB. CPRB then issues a disposition letter, which I think under the Charter 115.4 is termed as more of a recommendation. And that disposition letter / recommendation is then transmitted to either the Chief of Police or the Director of Public Safety. The Director of Public Safety or the Chief of Police can then depart from that recommendation by CPRB. There is a specific evidentiary standard that is supposed to be met to support that departure. And so I think what this agenda item is to notify the committee or to bring up for a discussion point, you know, how the committee might want to review or consider these departure letters moving forward.
Committee? Committee? Or I Benito? And also guests. Okay, go right ahead.
One thing that I have done, that I've started in the last, since our last meeting, is I have started a database for us that will list all the disciplines that are given. Now that Ryan Walker is back, our policy analyst, he's also going to be helping to catalog discipline. And so one thing that, a resource that will be available to this committee is to be able to look at this spreadsheet so that we can see more easily than reading every single divisional notice and disciplinary notice. Part of what is in this spreadsheet, I'm happy to send it to all of you, will just show whether discipline originated from OPS or internal affairs. It will list what the violation was, what group the violation was, whether it was sustained, what the discipline was given, and whether that discipline fell within the disciplinary matrix that existed at the time of the violation. And then also when there's a section for there's separate columns for OPS, now the internet's giving me issues, but for OPS disciplines versus internal affairs originated disciplines. And also on the spreadsheet, we'll show whether the chief departed from the CPRB recommendation. So one thing that I am hoping that we will be able to do is after we get caught up, we're going to do 2024 and then 2025. As departure letters come in and as divisional notices come in, they can be added to the spreadsheet, and we can automatically flag any cases where there's a departure or whether when the discipline that was given falls outside of the range in the disciplinary matrix. So my hope is that this will be something that will make it easier for us to, one, identify trends, and also to be able to, for us all to very easily be able to glance at something, and then we hopefully then would have access to all of these disciplinary letters as a committee. And so then you could just go to the spreadsheet, you could see that this discipline was not within range, and then all of us can then easily go to the disciplinary letter that it's associated with and look into it. So this is something that I'm hoping can be a resource for the committee.
Thank you.
So is this gonna be on a shared database or what?
Yeah, we can put it on, it's, right now it's on a, Excel on SharePoint, so it can be shared with, all committee members.
Hey, any questions for Ms. Benito to respond? All right, we're getting close, we're at our 7:30 adjournment time, so, do we need to consider the motion to extend our time another 10, 15 minutes?
Those time frames are just general.
Okay, they're not hard terms.
Yeah,
All right, general discussion and overview of disciplinary accountability.
I'm sorry, I want to let the committee speak, but I want to make a comment on the departure letters.
Go ahead.
So I want to say that I do think that these departure letters, clearly there's a lot of work that has to get done. I think that this should be a priority for this committee and the commission. I think, we've been receiving the disposition letters, and I do have some concerns over what I'm seeing in some of these disposition letters. The charter states the process by which that this discipline must be done, but in order for a chief or the public safety director to depart from discipline that is given by CPRB, they must have new, clear, and convincing evidence in order to do that. And they must present that evidence under a time frame. I think it may be something like 10 days or something like that. And from what I'm seeing, I'm not really sure if that's happening right now. And so I think we really need to prioritize this, because I think this is critical to some of the work that we have to do, because there are time frames associated with when discipline is handed down and then when that discipline is addressed. So, I've been doing some work on this. I'm willing to continue to help to do work on this, but I would like this to be a priority for the commission, because on the one hand, we have hearings, but then we also have other issues that relate to accountability that don't necessarily relate to our hearings. So that's just my 2 cents on this issue. We get or what do you call them, the pre-hearing documents, and we get the disposition letters when those are done, but they're coming in at a pretty steady rate. So since you all have been on the commission, I've been keeping them in a folder, but like at first, like there was like 2 or 3 coming in, you can read them and look at them, but now we have like, I think up towards to 50 already. And so the list of how many of these departures that we need to look at, and to be clear, not every discipline that's done, not all of them are departed from. But I have seen some departures that I'm very concerned about recently.
Mr. To Dr. Adams and to our executive director, we were discussing the fact that we have a significant backlog. There's a lot of information coming in. This is probably a good time to talk about this.
Yeah.
We don't seem to have enough board members, as policymakers. We can do some additional, take on some additional duties. But,
Can you move closer to the mic?
It seems as if one of the issues that we may have is we don't have enough staff. I was talking with the executive director about some of the alternatives in order to help clean up the backlog, at least get the backlog cleaned up. There was one discussion about possibly temps that have skills in this area, or contracting out. He indicated most of the contracts are already obligated. But is there a thought about what we may be able to do in order to buttress our staff and provide additional resources so we can at least eliminate this backlog?
Yeah, I'll just say, number one, I do agree with us obtaining some type of temporary workers who help with that, with the workload. But also, we need to start creating work groups immediately, because work groups do not only consist of commissioners, they also consist of stakeholders and community members. So I think, like for this, for this, we need a work group for Brady Giglio that I believe honestly should start today, honestly. I know you moved it forward, but I think that should have started today. And for these departures, we can begin creating the work groups today,
Right.
with just selecting at least two committee members to work in that, and then they can begin soliciting help from the community to start that work group, and they can begin working on that immediately. We don't have to put that off.
Let me ask you a question. Some of these personnel matters, some of the personnel information, isn't that confidential information? At least during the initial phases? Yeah, isn't that, yeah, so I don't know, when you say working group, you're talking about general public.
Yeah.
So
We're dealing with
maybe
public
you-
documents, so they
So I'm trying to,
they can
I understand working groups on some of our policy stuff, like, whether the
Yep.
police should be driving 85 down a one-way street. But in these personnel issues, don't the officers have some rights, certain rights?
I think it's by the time they are to the chair. So at the point where they go through their hearings and then the discipline has been administered, those are public documents. So the public would be able to do them. I think if there would be an issue if, like, for example, it was being investigated and we were doing something, I think that would be improper. But once it's been adjudicated, they're only will be dealing with public documents in the group. And we've already, started, working on this. We've already had Commissioner Benito start, the Excel sheet, but then we are also assigning, continuing that and working on that with Ryan Walker. And so yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Ms. Benito?
My suggestion would be that we form a work group that can work with Ryan to get the tracker and the kind of compiled, and then also begin and flag cases that should be reviewed by the accountability committee, and then also could have a monthly meeting that reviews the disciplinary notices that is received. My kind of what I imagine this would be we would, simultaneously while getting this, the kind of spreadsheets completed, also starting to look at all of the notices that have come in, flag cases, and then send those to the full commission for us to then in our monthly meeting determine whether we want to request the records. So we can discuss cases and choose not to move forward with them within our committee as long as we haven't requested the records yet. So how this could look like is this work group that has the ability to have community input, and two commissioners from this committee look at these letters, say, hey, this seems out of the ordinary, this seems like it's out of the matrix, and this seems like concerning to us. We would like to refer this to the committee. The committee then would discuss it in its next meeting and say, you know what, this does seem concerning. We would like to request the case package. And then once we request the case package from the city through the executive director, then we would have the executive director complete a case review.
Ms. Benito, not feel like cutting you off, but
Yeah.
you sound motivated to do this. Would you be willing to be one of those
I
committee members?
I would love to do it.
All
Thank you
right,
very much.
good. Okay. So we have one committee
Yeah,
member.
I think I'm invested in this issue.
There are two committees.
I would not counsel a quorum, so you can still have another commissioner.
Yeah.
I mean, I think where we are with this, I think this is like not to, for lack of better terminology, I don't think this is the most difficult thing for us to do, but it does require a lot of busy work. Like we need, there's different elements that we need. We need to know what the actual discipline that was imposed by CPRB was. So we've made a records request for the disposition letters that were done by the Civilian Police Review Board. We need that first. Then we need to be able to look at what the response from the chief and the public safety director were. Like, did they keep the discipline or did they change it? Like I said, in all the cases, they do not change the discipline. They do keep the discipline in a lot of cases. Then once we know, we become aware that something's been departed from, then we need to compare compare that to the discipline matrix and say, okay, was the discipline that was imposed, one, in alignment with the discipline matrix, and two, also was the departure. So is the departure justified by the discipline matrix? And then I think once we get to that point, then I think there is another step that needs to happen. But I think that whatever the work group is and this accountability committee, then I think that
But you know, hold on, I'm gonna throw this at you before you. Okay. Why don't you, can Ms. Benito chair this working group?
yeah, I'm just here to help.
You love Okay, all right, and we'll get you another.
So I think the final step, like, once we find that there are departures that may not be, that don't meet some threshold or some requirement by the law, then I think that's for that work group to then come to this committee to decide then what the step is.
So we got one, we're halfway there. I think I found another commissioner that has time to do.
You don't necessarily need, one commissioner is sufficient.
Yeah. But let's start with Ms. Benito and let her recruit people for her, hate to say it's while she's out, but take advantage of it while she's out, but,
Okay, so we had a discussion, so, James gonna do the Brady and I do the departure.
great. 3-person committee, we got it. All right.
Okay.
Very good. That takes care of that. You have it recorded on minutes, you're gonna just take it off in minutes.
I'm sorry?
You recording this part?
I think it's.
Okay, you take it off there. All right. So now, general discussion and overview of discipline and accountability matters. Has this been what we've been talking about? We've been talking about that. If someone has something specific that they want to address?
I just, to the chair, I wanted to just bring to the committee's attention that, we all know that we had, some concerns about those internal HR investigations that were not done. And that was the list that was released to the public. Since that list was released, we have gotten those investigations, completed back from the division. So I think that, that's also a matter that we need to look into, is that what should happen now is, and this has started to happen, I know that the complaint that kind of got this ball rolling, there was a pre-disciplinary hearing that was held last week on Friday, on the 25th. So I think the other step in it is like, we're gonna have to figure out how we follow up on these investigations, because some of them, a lot of them were from years ago, and that was part of the problem. But now that they are disciplining the officers, I think we need to keep a close eye on, the same thing that we're talking about with the departure. So I think that that's also an item, these internal investigations.
Can I, further elaborate?
So there were, to the chair, we discovered that there were cases, like internal cases. So this would not be civilians complaining against officers. It would be, for the most part, like an employee within the division, not necessarily an officer. So like dealing with issues like harassment, workplace violence, things like that. And so those cases weren't investigated. So now that they have been investigated, I just think we should do some diligence to follow up on them.
Now, the internal issues, I know that falls in our salary too, but the internal issues, if there's an officer who has a complaint against another officer,
right?
That either goes to professional standards of one of the other, or
it goes to
or the chief.
They usually send it over to Human Resources for an investigation.
Right. And then the Human Resources then makes recommendation, and then where does it go? I mean, I know where.
What the Human Resources Department does is they do the investigation. They essentially perform the duty of, one of the duties of, I guess that would kind of be like, that scenario, it would be like Human Resources is OPS. They're going to do the investigation. And then I think the Division of Public Safety Department, they sort of serve as like the CPRB. Like they review that investigation that was done by the Human Resources Department, and then they make a recommendation for the discipline.
Have we gotten complaints, have we gotten, maybe have, if you have we got complaints from officers, against other officers that have not been addressed to the satisfaction of the complaining officer?
I guess, I haven't heard anything about that. But I guess why I think that we should be interested in this is because in this process, there's no civilian oversight involved. When it's an office internal, it's not going through the same type of process. So at least with OPS and CPRB, we know that the civilian bodies, those bodies that are, given the power through the charter, that they have been reviewed outside of the division and outside of the city. So, that's where I'm coming at with this, because I feel like at this point, because it's going through HR and then through the division or public safety department, that no oversight body would have really been involved in reviewing those cases.
Officer Chura, you have a take on this? Chief Mason, you have a take on it?
My take on it is, there's been officers put up on charges, and it turns out that the charges weren't warranted, or they put them up on charges and they should have been exonerated. There was evidence that came out later showing the head guy at the time of, I guess it might be the superintendent at that point, I can't remember what his title was, but he was an ex-federal prosecutor. He typed up that this officer should pretty much exonerated him. Went up to the chief's office, came back down, and he changed his report. So then this officer went up on charges, and it all came out later. And I think that's where a lot of these stem from. There were probably 3 or 4, I think, officers, and they were these sergeants or lieutenants at the time. There was an incident off duty where they were going to like a seminar to study and learn how to takes you through to all the GPOs and all the books and stuff. And there was an altercation there caught on videotape, and I think it was pretty clear who was doing what. And I think that was all kind of swept away, and maybe I think that's where some of this is coming from. But it was horrible, I thought. For that officer, I think there was a lawsuit involved. So I don't know if he was compensated that way. Let's put it that way. And he was also promoted, where these other officers were, promoted too, which probably wouldn't have happened now.
And the other thing is, this is also related to the work that the Promotion and Evaluation Committee has to do on making recommendations for commanders. Some of the names that were on that list were people who were in leadership positions or who were promoted to commander positions. So, just I just want to throw that out there, that's something else that I'm not going to go as far as say we should do another work group. You just created 2 work groups.
But you made a good point. At some point, we're going to have to get some additional resources to staff. We created work groups, so we're going to have to supplement our commission with some outside resources. Attorney Bolton, this is the kind of thing. Anyway, but this is the kind of thing. We're gonna have to get some resources.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to get some independent resources and people who have we're not investigating bodies, but we may need to supplement our executive director with some people with these skills.
In response to that, I would say that our budget is limited. It's provided by charter, and City Council does authorize the minimum amount as mandated by the charter, I believe, no more, no less. So we are sort of working with what we have, and as with any governmental body, we are always, understaffed, under-budgeted, and under-resourced. So for the time being, I think we gotta make do with what we got. Kind of take an all-hands-on-deck approach. I know I've delved into a lot of stuff, and I will continue to delve into a lot of stuff. But I think what this conversation highlights generally is how this committee and its work impacts and affects every other committee of the commission. This committee, I view as one of the most important committees, and frankly, I would recommend that it meet on a weekly or bi-weekly basis because of the
Yeah, there's a,
backlog of work that we have. Now, we're also talking about various different sort of disciplinary formats, and I'm not sure if it's clear to everyone in the public the various ways that an officer can be disciplined and our oversight powers over those disciplinary measures, right? So we're talking about departures, right? And that's by virtue of the citizen-initiated complaint through the OPS CPRB process, right? Then we're also talking about potential HR EEO complaints. That more so pertains to protected classifications, right? But then there's just the general disciplinary measures that are imposed by the chief of police or Department of Public Safety that come to the division by virtue of other meetings, right? So we also have a backlog of those cases as well. Those that go through the pre-disciplinary hearing process, and then there's a disposition letter that is issued. This committee should undertake a full review of each of those disciplinary measures or disposition letters to determine whether or not those disciplinary decisions meet the matrix criteria at the time of the incident, in order to then determine whether the matter should be reviewed by the full commission to impose potentially greater discipline. So although I know we don't have a process in place to conduct appeals, I think once that process is set, which I believe is more forthcoming than not, this committee needs to be in a position to have the work done to determine whether it wants to proceed or how it wants to proceed with regard to those disciplinary decisions that have been issued and continue to be issued every day.
right.
To the executive director, have you, and maybe you haven't, but do you have a list of what you consider the priorities that the commission, that this committee needs to address?
To me, the priorities are contained essentially on this agenda. So the Brady Giglio, it is important. It doesn't obviate the prosecutor's ethical obligation to submit those materials to the defense attorney, right? But we need to ensure that we have a process in place to determine how we're going to meet how we're going to meet that provision in the Charter 115.5. The departure letters are very important as well. As we continue to work through this Excel spreadsheet, we're learning that we need more and more documents, but that work is continuously ongoing because the cases are continuously ongoing. Right. So it needs to be a live document, and commission members and staff need to be able to review that document and add to it potentially daily, if not daily, then weekly. As it pertains to just general disciplinary matters, I have a slew of emails containing pre-disciplinary hearing charges and disposition letters that, like Dr. Adams, are contained on my laptop that are ready to at least be reviewed or considered by this committee. And so while there's a lot to do, I view those as the priorities of this committee. And if this committee desires to solicit help, I think that this discussion and this meeting right now is right to determine who and how that help comes from.
All right, so we have three committees that we've established, but subcommittees work groups we've established. One chaired by Mr. Benito, one chaired by Detective Chura, one chaired by Chief Mason. So I can pick up, you and I will talk about the other matter.
No, we're on the same,
The departures and.
So
Okay.
mine is it's all disciplines.
Right.
So one's the Brady Giglio and one is the, okay, yeah. And one thing I wanted to ask is, do we have a second commissioner that wants to work on that with me?
The other parties are not here. I'm working with you on departure.
On the discipline. I want to clarify, departures and discipline are the same thing. Yeah. Great, great. I look forward to working with you.
We got 3 people right now, and then I'm gonna
Wait,
talk.
we can't have 3 people.
I can't do it.
Oh, you are the 3rd person? Okay, great, thank you.
Okay. I'll talk with the executive director and the co-chairs.
Yeah.
About the remaining issue. Chief?
Question. We are talking about, needing outside help and from the community. Have we thought about going to the college to look at criminal justice students? Because they can get credit for that, for internship. So that is not money, that is credit and time. So we may need to look at utilizing them for that help. Great.
We have had those discussions, they're in the works.
And I will say, I actually have a call scheduled for tomorrow with, CASE, the CASE externship program, to figure out what I need to do to move forward with an externship program, to bring somebody on board, to help with that backlog. But what I will request of this committee is direction. That's what is important to me in order to figure out what I and the office need to do in order to assist this committee.
I should say something.
All right,
So,
well,
to the chair, I will just put this out there that, we have not been successful in getting additional funds from council. So I think as we're doing this work, I think the other piece in the background is the Budget and Grants Committee soon is going to start working on the 2026 budget. And so I think that if there's an ask that this committee has, I would like to start those discussions earlier rather than later to kind of figure out, because what we did last time was we identified some areas that we needed some additional resources for, and then we sort of wrote a justification for why we were asking for the money, how the funds would be used to help us further the work of the commission forward. So I think that's also not as urgent as these things are right now, but as a long-term solution, we might want to think about, as chair or as your committee, like what actually, like how, we know you need help, but exactly, just kind of flush it out. Just to put that out there.
I'll reach out to at least one of you. I'm gonna have a conversation with our co-chairs and our executive director, and follow up by reaching out to at least one of you, to a committee of 2, that can address some of these needs identified. Okay. So the last item on the agenda is a simple item, and it doesn't take a long discussion, but some of these districts are dangerous to both officers and the public. You all mentioned any other recently other than the 3rd district, which is news and entertainment.
That's the one I
But the rest of them, the rest of them.
What's the one on the west side? First is, I was scared. Second is not great.
Second is
For it's only 3.
When you walking into them is dangerous. For citizens to walk up the stairs, they take their life in their hands because they have uneven bricks, they have cones, and kids still walking into the building.
Why is that? Like, is there a reason why they haven't fixed any of the buildings?
Maintenance is short staff. I guess we used to have a detective that would start the boiler up every morning. I'm not kidding. He'd be on there, flip those switches and try and get it to work.
And then you walk in to talk to somebody that's plastic, it's nauseating. It's just the places are just dirty, filthy, nasty. And I told some officers, I said, I think we need to come up and take a look at your work conditions. They don't want to be in the building.
We have rats in them. I mean,
They don't want to go in the building. Well, I don't want to go and see the rats either, but they don't want to go in the building. But we need to, I want to get at least one other person, the exec director took the pains to making sure we know there's no more than 2 of us going in at a time, so we're not a meeting. So we need to identify.
I mean, you think should be something that this could be something that could go through the outreach community?
Possible.
You talk to Commissioner Kincaid about it.
I'll talk to her too, so if we can get over there, because these guys, ladies, are working at a terrible position. leaking ceilings, toilets overflowing, it's a mess.
Which district do you think is the worst right now? Is there a?
Well, depends on whichever you want, you've been to last. I went to the fifth. I don't know, that's where I was. So you've been to the first, but whenever you talk to anybody, they tell you it's you talk to any of the officers, they tell you, except the third, they tell you, yeah, third is beautiful. Please come to my place. So, we'll follow up on that, and I'll take, Dr. Adams' suggestion, reach out to, Thank you, folks. We have a lot of work to do. I appreciate that. And we look forward to, the director's going to send out a date, check with you, make sure that our personal agenda. And we know it can't be between the 8th and the 13th. All right? Is there absent any other business? Is there any other new business that's not on the agenda? Anything for the benefit of the committee as a whole? All right, hearing none.
I do think that we should talk about chair.
Okay, all right.
Chair.
Yeah, we didn't talk
Having
about
a chair for the committee, yeah.
So, yeah, we did do identify a chair. Shoot, I'm ready to go to bed right now. But that's all, okay.
Can we vote on it today? Who wanna be? You want it? You don't want to be heard?
I would take it right now, and we can think about it. Let's get these balls rolling. And, I'd be willing to serve as the chair for at least through the next budget, at least until we get the budget, get prepared for budget. Okay?
The rules have a 1-year term limit or 1-year terms for chairs.
That's a maximum. You can have less.
Not a maximum. I mean, you can quit, but yeah, if you don't want to be chair, you're not going to be forced to against your will. I do think that for the purposes of coordinating the committee and getting the ball rolling, I think that it would, all the other committees have permanent chairs already. I do think this committee needs a permanent chair. I mean, I am willing to do it. It sounds like you are interested in it. Commissioner Nelson, my concern is just I want us to have stability and permanency and for this work to be pushed forward.
I'll nominate myself for chair for the balance of the term. The balance of the term is a calendar year, right?
December the 31st.
The terms, when you guys are appointed, December 5th.
So, to December 5th, that's the term. Okay. For whatever the balance of the term is. And Ms. Benito, I'll meet with you and talk about some of your concerns. I'll meet you and talk about some of your concerns, subject to the voters committee, subject to the voters committee.
Are you there? Or anyone else in the committee?
I think we should wait till we have a full committee. The excused member should be here too, so she would have an opportunity to vote.
Okay, so I just would like to suggest that we make this a priority for our next meeting.
Next meeting, okay. You got a lot to put on that agenda for the next meeting, Mr.
I haven't set a date for the next meeting.
But it won't be while you're gone. Okay. How many of you are going to the conference?
I'm not.
Yeah.
All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All right, without objection, we are adjourned. Officer, thank you. You had much to do today.